JD here on 98.5. There is a residential coaching camp that's coming up in July, and it's put on by the organisation known as Sports Plus. And here to tell us more is the team coordinator, Dr. Laurence Houghton, who holds a PhD in sports science, and also Ian Thacker, who's a cricket coach, known as Thacks to all his mates. Laurence and Thacks, welcome along. Great to see you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thanks, JD. Thanks for having us.
Look, we talked, Laurence, last year about Sports Plus coaching camp that was held at Guildford Grammar last year. First of all, how did that go? What was the result of that? Was it a great time?
Oh, it always is. There's always a great sense of community that's built during the week, mainly because there's heaps of young people that just love their sport, and when you get people together that love sport, there's a real kind of connection. There's always stuff to talk about, but also just a real sense of learning a bit about God and how their sport fits into a bigger perspective of what God has for them. So yeah, it's a great week. We had a great week. I think from memory had some great weather as well, which was spot on. Well, hopefully in July you might have the same thing. Just remind us, for those who've never heard of a Sports Plus coaching camp, why are you holding it? What actually happens? Yeah, so essentially, young people choose one of 7 sports, and they come and get their coaching during the week. So about 4 or 5 hours of coaching and sport each day. So they're pretty tired by the end of it, and the aim is to really to help those young people excel in their sport. So whatever their sport is, by the time they finish the camp, that they might have improved in just one aspect of their sport. And alongside that is trying to get a perspective of where their sport fits into God's plan for their life, and working out what it means to play their sport for Christ, and wrestling with some of the issues that come up maybe as a young athlete in sport. So
Ian Thacker, Thacks, I'll get used to calling you that. You've been involved for a little while as a cricket coach. What's your take on the Sports Plus camp?
My take is I come from 2 aspects. One is the Christian side, and for me it ticks both boxes. I'm passionate about introducing people to Jesus Christ, and I've always been passionate about doing that through sport. I got involved with Christians in Sport in the UK. Fantastic setups. Had this Laurence, and Laurence introduced the same concept over here. So the fact that we can combine the sport, excellent coaching, along with introducing people to Jesus, for me, it's just an ideal platform in which to get hold of the young people and to help them improve and to help them develop as people.
Yeah. So you as a cricketing coach at a Sports Plus residential camp, how does that week pan out for you? Is it pretty full on?
It is, absolutely. And for Laurence and for the rest of the coaches, it is totally full on. What I tend to do these days is by tea time, as I call it, by late afternoon. Yeah. Whoa, these lads have run my legs off. I'll go and put my feet up while these carry on. But for me, I mean, we start early in the morning. They'll do, as Laurence says, 3, 4, 5 hours specific coaching to their sport, intertwined with messages about Jesus, just sitting around having a chat, introducing to anybody that doesn't know how to have a relationship with Jesus. And then obviously in the evening, the thing that I love is the culture. And I use the term kids, I'm not allowed to, but I still call somebody at 30 a kid. So it is meant complimentary. They are so full of energy. It's fantastic to see. The passion for sport, the energy that they've got. If you can't enjoy that, then you really are an old man. And we have a good time. We have a lot of fun as well.
All right, my guest is Ian Thacker, who is a cricketing coach, and also Dr. Laurence Houghton from Sports Plus. Laurence, what drives you to do this? I mean, you've been doing it for quite a while now. You obviously love sport. You obviously love Jesus. How do you personally marry the two together and actually promote that? Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's often before Sports Plus thinking about the young athletes in that age, kind of year 7 to 12, and remembering back when I was that age. Sport's been such a big part of my life, and particularly in those years, and just remembering some of the maybe pressures that you often put on yourself. As a young athlete, you maybe be marked with potential, and you love your sport, and there's this kind of maybe a transition where sport moves from being this thing you just enjoy and you really love to this pressure that's on you because maybe your identity is now wrapped up in how you perform. Everyone sees you as this athlete, and so what drives me in it is helping young people to get a perspective on that and see, actually, no, God's given me these abilities, so I want to excel in them. So encouraging the young athletes to do that and say, grab hold of it, but also taking that step back and realising, well, actually, the greatest thing that God has done for me is to bring me back to a relationship with Him,
and then work through that in your sport. So how do I actually honour God in my sport? So really helping the young people to get a good solid platform for their life and to enjoy the gift of sport in the way that God's made it to be. So.
All right, my guest is Dr. Lauro Houghton and also Ian Thacker from Sports Plus. We're talking about the residential coaching camp that's coming up in July. We'll pause for a song and we'll come back with some of the nuts and bolts and the nitty-gritty of the camp in just a moment. You're on Sundays with JD on 98.5. You're with JD on 98.5 a Sunday morning. Dr. Lauro Houghton is a PhD in sports science and he is the team coordinator of a residential coaching camp that's coming up in July. It's put on by Sports Plus, and Ian Thacker is with us as well, a cricketing coach. Thacks, just before the break we were talking about the marriage of sport and religion, or sport and Jesus, sport and Christianity. What's your take on that and what Sports Plus is doing?
I come from a very practical, having worked within the professional sporting world for a while. I think your Christian faith can be an absolutely vital component for keeping you grounded. What's happening, and it's happened for years, but particularly these days, it tends to get highlighted that a person's worth to them is, are they kicking goals, are they scoring runs, are they making tackles if they play in rugby? And that becomes them, that becomes their identity. And once they stop scoring runs or kicking goals, or they miss tackles, suddenly their worth in their own mind starts to deteriorate. And one of the things that we're also concerned about these days, particularly with young people, is mental health. And from a sports perspective, that is a slippery slope, that your worth becomes how you perform on the pitch. So for me, having a grounding, having a relationship with Jesus is one of the things that can help you to overcome this self-worth.
Yeah.
And I think it's vital in this day and age. We all talk about technical coaching and we need to be able to play a better cover drive, or we need to handball better, but we need to concentrate a great deal more on the mental aspect of the game.
Yeah. Ian, just briefly, what was your sporting background? I mean, you've...
Well, it depends who you talk to. If you talk to somebody like Barry Richards, then I couldn't have held a cricket bat. But certainly in the UK, I played Premier League cricket, what we'd call Premier League cricket, into my 50s. So that is something that I'm pleased about.
Yeah.
But since then, I have coached. I've been very, very blessed to be able to coach at a fairly elite level.
Yeah.
And I've worked with some very, very good cricketers, some world-renowned cricketers.
Yeah.
And I've also been blessed that because of what I did, I was exposed to other sports and other elite sportsmen, and you begin to get a picture of what a professional sport is all about. And it's not quite the glamour that everybody thinks it is.
Yeah.
It's flipping hard work.
Can imagine. Ian Thacker is my guest, along with Dr. Lauro Houghton from Sports Plus. Lawrence, Ian's here as one of the coaches doing cricket. You've got other coaches involved in this particular camp, this residential camp. What other sports are actually being looked at?
Yeah, that's right. So there's 7 sports, and well, obviously you said cricket already. Cricket for the first time this year, so it's great to get that going. We've got AFL as well, basketball, hockey, netball, soccer, and tennis. So yeah, same as...
Can I just pick Lawrence up on that? That hurts me to hear him say soccer as an absolute pop. I'd call it proper football, but we'll throw that one out there.
We'll let that pass.
Yes.
We'll let that go through to the keeper, yeah. Okay, so, and you've got obviously a great team behind you running this. Now, it's at Guildford Grammar School again. It's a great facility, isn't it?
Oh, awesome. Spot on in terms of just picturesque in its own right. But yeah, the sporting facilities there. I mean, last year they had the new hockey turf put down that was the same as the Olympic pitch as well, so privileged to be able to have a bit of use of that. And I tell you what, the food's pretty epic there as well, which is important for young athletes running around the whole week, and that's a real thing we put an emphasis on, making sure they're fed well and obviously can sleeping in a proper bed, but not in tents or anything, sleeping well and looking after themselves, and really giving that kind of philosophy of an elite coaching camp, so everyone's giving it their best. So yeah, we're really thankful that we can use the facilities there. Yeah,
good nutrition, very important for sports people. It's coming up in July at Guildford Grammar School. So how can people be involved? Who's it for again? Just remind us of the nuts and bolts of the camp. Yeah,
so it's for school years 7 to 12. And obviously, as you probably picked up in the conversation, it's for those who are really up for an intensive week of sport. Someone maybe who's used to training already a couple of times a week, and they really do want to keep improving at their sport. So again, it's not real set on a level of playing. It's just if you want to improve and you're really passionate about your sport, then come along. It runs from a Sunday the 2nd of July to Friday the 7th. Again, residential, so everyone sleeps there the whole time. If you want to find out more, you can go to sportsplusaustralia.com.
Yeah. All right. Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. I know, talking to you last year, you were really looking forward to a lot of people coming along and having a great time. It sounds like it was, and this is an opportunity for